What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yo, yo.
So, Nick, the UFC 265 fight of the night and the Barnhill brothers' unofficial fight of the night was none other than Rafael Fiziev versus Bobby Green, the main event on the prelims. This was an incredible fight, and even though we had some strange scorecards, this fight certainly delivered.
Yeah, for sure. The matchmakers knew what they were doing. They knew what slot to put that fight in. The main event on ESPN or ESPN2, one of the major channels, to get a lot of new eyes on the UFC. You want to get an explosive, awesome two guys in the octagon to fight and put on a really good show, right? Just to entice people to move on over to the pay-per-view side. So I think they picked the right guys. Bobby Green is the epitome of a fighter. He's a real tough guy. A legit badass in a sport that has a lot of fake tough guys in it. So Bobby Green is always a great guy for the UFC to count on, to come on and put fireworks on for a show. And Rafael Fiziev is quickly becoming undeniable. He's one of the most exciting strikers in the entire sport right now, and he's building a lot of steam. I think a lot of people really like to watch him fight. They think, when they watch that style of the heavy Muay Thai, the really good slips, the really heavy strikes, they really enjoy that. And when you got two guys in there locked in the cage like that, you're going to get an amazing fight. They both earned their $50,000 fight bonus.
No doubt about that. And this was a striker versus striker, but the way that these two guys approach striking is very different. As you said, Rafael Fiziev is a come forward, power thrower, Muay Thai type fighter with that cadence. Not a whole lot of slips. He just kind of right in your face in that range, kicking you, hitting you to the head, hitting you to the body, and just daring you to stand toe-to-toe with him. Bobby Green moves around a little bit more. His hands are a little bit more fluid, and his slips are a little bit better than Fiziev's. And we saw that with some beautiful boxing in the third round, a round which I thought really Bobby Green was starting to come on and the tide was turning. Unfortunately, it was at the end of the fight. If there was one black eye to this whole main event of the prelims between Fiziev and Green, I think it was the judging. One of the judges actually scored the fight 30-27, and he actually came out with a statement that I want to read to you, because I think for the first time, it's interesting that a judge has come out and defended a scorecard that a lot of people thought was bunk. So allow me to read this to you. And this was from the judge, Judge Ferraro. He was the third judge ringside. And he says, quote, "Strikes that are deemed most effective are strikes that have the potential to end the fight. Those are the strikes that hold more weight than any other strikes. It doesn't matter if they are punches, kicks, elbows, you name it. We have to assess who is trying to end the fight with their weapons. Those are the strikes that hold the most weight in that criteria. I'm not making this stuff up. It's in the unified rules. Look at the fight. 1 minute in, Fiziev landed a shot, in my opinion, that hurt Green. Green played it off well by shaking his head in the no fashion. This is entertaining, I understand, but antics are not scored, and toughness is not scored." So very interesting. I don't necessarily agree that Bobby Green wasn't the one doing more damage in the third round, but for the first time, we have a judge coming out, standing by a scorecard that we thought was controversial and offering an explanation. So what do you think about that?
Well, it's nice to hear from the judges. We never do, and that's something everybody in the sport wants to hear more out of. We have these fighters all beat up and bruised after the fights. If they're not on their way to the hospital, they're on their way to the post-fight press conference, which can be pretty brutal for them. And obviously, it's difficult to go answer 30 minutes worth of questions. So I think somebody who just had a front row seat to a few hours worth of fights definitely has enough energy to go answer a few questions as to why they, judged the fight that way, or why they scored it that way, or you just let us into the mindset of what a UFC credited judge thinks. So I'm happy to hear that he's coming out and speaking on it. I don't have a problem with what he's saying. I would need to brush up a little bit on the unified rules. I know them, but I don't know the ins and outs like a judge should. So I fully trust what he's saying there. I think Rafael Fiziev did have some really significant moments where he did kind of seem to be chasing Bobby Green down in the first and second round. But that second round to me is the round that decided this fight. The first round clearly went to Rafael Fiziev, in my opinion. And the third round clearly went to Bobby Green, in my opinion. The second round was the closest, not only visually, but statistically. You look, they were within about 5 or 6 strikes from each other in an all around striking match. So when you're judging a fight, you can't really count that many or that few different strikes and really know, okay, this guy outstruck this guy by a large margin. So if somebody's got 40 strikes and the other guy's got 45 strikes, you really don't know. It's kind of a wash as far as your eye test goes. You can't quite predict exactly who got the better of who in that situation. So the second round for me was it was hard. It was the hardest one to judge. I did kind of favor it towards Fiziev, which means he won, the fight 2-1. But make no mistake about it. If that would have been a fight night main event gone 5 rounds, I think the tide would have started to shift in Bobby Green's direction. He seemed to have really started to come on in the third round and probably would have continued that momentum.
Yeah, and I think that, it was one of those situations like Nate Diaz, right, where Bobby Green, if you give him enough rounds, he's going to finish you ultimately. And He's so damn hard to finish that he's going to always hang in there and hang tough. What's interesting to me is Bobby Green actually he landed 40 more strikes than Fiziev. The final tally was 103 strikes for Fiziev and 143 for Bobby Green. Interestingly enough, the total strikes and the significant strikes were exactly the same for both gentlemen. They each threw a couple hundred strikes and not a damn one of them wasn't significant. So these guys were throwing some serious leather. Again, 143 for Bobby, 103 for Fiziev, but he really racked up on those strikes in the third round. And so I think that Bobby Green had to have been given the third round, as 2 judges did score it for him. And as we know, we score MMA in a 10-9 10-point must system, and then the opponent gets 9 or less. And by that system, I do think that Fiziev won the first 2 rounds, and then Bobby Green won the third round. So 29-28 is a reasonable scorecard. Listen, I don't agree with what the judge what he saw in the third round and what he scored, but I do respect the fact that he was able to come out and willing to stand by his decision. So I think that's some progress, and I'd like to see some more of that. Now looking forward, Fiziev is now 10-1. His only loss came via knockout, and that's largely because he doesn't have a lot of head movement. He kind of stands right in front of you. He's a devastating striker, but he's also kind of a stationary target at times. And I think him now being at Sanford MMA under the watchful tutelage of Henry Hooft, that's going to really help to refine his game, because now he's going to start to implement some of that finesse, work on his hands a little bit better. We know he's got crazy kicks, elbows. The clinch is phenomenal. Now I think his hands, his feinting, his traps he's going to be able to set are going to be better. I think that his ability to slip and roll punches is going to improve. And then on top of that, he's got guys like Michael Chandler in there who's in the weight class that he can wrestle with every day, because we know he's only a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. He is bodied up. He's strong. He's tough. He's got really good takedowns as far as a traditional Muay Thai clinch style takedowns. But we know he's going to need to be able to evolve and defend the wrestling, especially if he wants to have success at 155. So I think he's in the right place. Young guy, only 28 years old, not taking a whole lot of damage in his MMA career. I'm very excited for his future. Also, Bobby Green, incredible. I will tune into everything Bobby Green does from now on.
Yeah, Bobby Green came to fight. He's a true fighter. I really enjoy watching him. I can't wait to see what he does next. If I was Rafael Fiziev, while I do work on these things that, they're not really weaknesses, but they're less they're not his strong suits, the grappling and things like that. I would keep calling people out. The best way to guarantee who you fight next in this sport is to call them out. And you might not get everyone you try, but if you don't try at all, then you just wind up with whoever they give you. And that could be a ridiculous grappler, a really tough wrestler, something like that. And that wouldn't do well for him. I don't think he would just lose a fight if he fought a wrestler, but I don't think if he can avoid fighting people like Islam Makhachev for as long as possible while he's getting his MMA, game rounded out, I think that would be smart. You keep giving him really good guys that are stand-up strikers that want to stand and bang with him. He's going to keep getting fight of the night bonuses or performance bonuses. He's going to keep, adding to his highlight reel. And it's a good thing to do to kill the time or to while you're working on all these things that you need to work on with the wrestling and stuff like that, the jiu-jitsu finishes and stuff. But make no mistake about it, he's a high-level striker, one of the highest level strikers in the entire MMA, both offense and defense. And I think that, he's in the right room now. He's training with Michael Chandler. So that stuff will definitely be a part of his game, but it's going to be more utilized like Israel Adesanya, where he's just learning how to make people stand and trade with him. And there's not a ton of 155ers that can just stand and trade with him, in my opinion.
100%. If he can develop an anti-wrestling game, it's going to be scary, especially as his striking evolves under Henry. But yeah, credit to both of these gentlemen for putting on an excellent fight, and credit to Judge Ferraro for coming out. Although I don't agree, as I said, with the third round assessment and saying that Fiziev still won that round. I think Bobby did more damage. I do respect and appreciate the fact that he came out and was willing to sit in his decision and face the criticism and not flip-flop on it. So credit to him for that as well.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, thanks for watching this video. If you've enjoyed, a like, comment, and subscribe is always appreciated. And if you listen to audio podcasts, check us out there as well. Until the next one, guys, have a wonderful day.
Peace.